When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, mark it down. Tuesday, January 29th. That's the day when President Trump will deliver his second State of the Union address, and we will be throwing a party, and you are invited. We're calling it A Taste of Freedom, and it's presented by healthinsurancementors.com. We're holding it at the Belvedere Banquets in Elk Grove Village. The evening will feature dinner at 6:30, followed by the president's speech on the big screen at 8. And if you hurry, you can buy tickets to sit with Dan or Amy. We each have our own table this year, but those tickets are limited, so join us and a couple hundred other AM 560 listeners for this great event. Tickets start at just $64, and they can be purchased at 560theanswer.com/taste. That's 560theanswer.com/taste, and it's sponsored in part by Storelock. We will see you Tuesday, January 29th.
And we saw Trump, the President of the United States, yesterday on the White House lawn before he bounced down to New Orleans and bounced back to
have some burgers with Clemson football players.
Yeah. And he was asked again about this bombshell New York Times story over the weekend.
That he's a Russian spy? I mean, this is so ludicrous.
That he's Raymond Shaw, that a counterintel investigation was opened into President Trump after he fired James Comey on the pretense there was concerns that he was a Russian agent. Trump asked about that again by the assembled press corps, and you won't be surprised by his pointed reaction.
I never worked for Russia, and you know that answer better than anybody. I never worked for Russia. Not only did I never work for Russia, I think it's a disgrace that you even asked that question, because it's a whole big fat hoax. It's just a hoax.
And it's a hoax perpetrated by some dirty cops that he has exiled from FBI.
The people that started that investigation are McCabe, who's a proven liar and was fired from the FBI, are Lisa Page, who was forced to leave the FBI, and her lover, Peter Strzok, who we got their text messages, and what they said in those text messages was shocking when you talk about bias. And also Comey. And I guess they started it because I fired Comey, which was a great thing I did for our country. So the people doing that investigation were people that have been caught that are known scoundrels. I guess you could say they're dirty cops. And I'll tell you what, it is so unfair what's happened to the FBI in terms of the men and women working in the rank and file of the FBI. I know many of them. These are great people, and they are so embarrassed by their leadership. I have never seen a turnaround in a bureau or agency like I have with the FBI. They are so embarrassed.
The Senate Judiciary Committee is meeting now. You may remember them from such famous confirmation hearings as the Brett Kavanaugh hearing.
Yeah, are we going to get anything like that today?
I doubt it. William Barr is up for confirmation as President Trump's next Attorney General. And I wonder if there'll be some Republican inquiries of Mr. Barr about this New York Times story and the decision-making at FBI over the last 2 to 3 years, and what he's going to do about it at Justice with respect to things like a criminal referral from the DOJ IG on Andy McCabe. We're going to have a new sheriff at Justice, one that takes up a lot of these unanswered questions we have about the conduct of the senior leadership of the FBI and senior administration officials of the previous administration. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined again by David Harsanyi, senior editor for TheFederalist.com. His book, First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, what about that? What would you, if you're a Republican senator, what would you want to ask and hear from William Barr this morning?
Well, I mean, the clip you played of Donald Trump, every word he said was completely true. So I'd want to know what we were going to do about that, because nothing undermines the public's trust in democracy and so on more than when people take institutions that are supposed to be unbiased and use them for their partisan ends. I can't believe that there was an investigation opened. I mean, when you just step away for a minute and you say, oh, there was an investigation opened on the President of the United States because someone in the FBI or some people in the FBI thought that he was some kind of Russian asset. It's just so, and there's so little evidence to open up that sort of investigation. You wouldn't even do it probably for a normal human being, much less the president. So I don't know. I think it should be a giant scandal, but the media is so concerned with sort of cobbling together everything that he's done that's pro-Russia to make it look like he's some sort of, Manchurian candidate that, that no one is focusing on that, at least not in the mainstream.
Well, it proves to me that there's so much bias, though, on the FBI. I mean, this is they took this, I think, to crazy town, thinking that he's an operative for and he's a Russian agent.
Well, they took the dossier, and within a very short time, and I forget what it is exactly, they opened this investigation, the initial investigation. There is no way they could have looked into the charges of, at least it doesn't seem to me, I'm no expert on law enforcement, into these charges or the validity of them to open an investigation into the president and his staff. So it's really surreal in a way.
Mark Penn, former Clinton attaché, writing op-ed at FoxNews.com, basically says, I'll quote him, the Mueller Independent Counsel and Southern District of New York investigations remain as the insurance policy set up to keep up the effort to remove the president for something. Something to be named later at some point when we've got the best available story to tell. I mean, is that your perspective?
I think so. It seems so. I mean, I was sort of an agnostic on collusion and stuff like that. I wanted to see what Mueller was going to bring back. But now I see never Trumpers and Democrats saying that the president should be impeached because he wants to get out of NATO. That's a policy decision. And now all of a sudden these policy decisions, they are, impeachable offenses. I mean, if that were the case, we could have impeached Barack Obama for sending funds to Iran. That was undermining American interests in my view. So, I mean, it's just a corrosion of institutions to start using serious, the Constitution in this way. And just because you want to remove Donald Trump, you can't even have a policy disagreement anymore. Everything is about impeachment. Everything is about spying.
So today the nominee for Attorney General is going to head before the Judiciary Committee. Do you expect anything at all like what we saw with Brett Kavanaugh?
I don't think it's going to be as charged or emotionally charged. I'm sure the Democrats are going to see some crazy stuff, and I'm sure Republicans are going to defend the guy. And what
about his high school calendar? Is that going to come out?
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to like Squiggy and Wee?
The bar tabs from DC eateries? Yeah.
No, but I can imagine that the next Supreme Court battle is going to be just one of the most epic things that this country's ever gone through. But this, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It definitely won't be as emotionally charged. I don't think the public's as invested in it in any way. The idea that he can't be the AG for Trump because he's pro-Trump in some ways is so ridiculous. I mean, Eric Holder said that he was Obama's wingman and ignored subpoenas and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I wish that AGs weren't as partisan, but they are.
The Democrat field for 2020 is starting to come together in earnest. You got your Tulsi Gabbards, you got your Julian Castros, you got your
Elizabeth Warren.
Of course, Elizabeth Warren. You got your Kristen Gillibrand. You got your Kamala Harris. That may be good news for the president that the Democrats want to start the campaign season straight away, have maybe debates in the spring, because it presents sort of this whole other universe for the public to focus on.
It's as if there's just constant campaigning. I just feel like the presidential campaign just ended and it's already starting up again. I think a big field is helpful. Obviously, it just depends. I have no idea who is going to come out of there, but I think that it obviously helps the president in some ways. I think that a really bitter and competitive primary season actually makes candidates better sometimes. I think that Hillary probably could have used some better. Bernie was pretty tough, but she could have used a little more real competition, I think. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I think all these candidates sort of diverts the attention of the public and might create animosity within the Democratic Party.
What do you think about any internal strife in the Republican Party, at least to the level that it would prompt a primary challenge to President Trump? It seems like, at least at present, with his position on border security funding, that he's in very good standing with the overwhelming majority of Republicans. So a Kasich, a Flake, doesn't seem like there's a lane for them.
No, I mean, if Republicans were to challenge Trump, I could only see it being a conservative challenge to Trump. So when you have people who conservatives generally hate trying to run against him, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be very productive for them. So I don't see it. But generally, the president holds a lot of the power in the party, or most of the power in the party, and it's almost impossible to challenge him. It's very rare, and it's definitely not going to happen here in any sort of real way, I don't think.
Real quick, back to the Democratic primary and who's going to be it. What about Beto or Biden? Do you think who has a better chance? Because they're polling pretty high right now.
Oh, yeah, 15%. Woo-wee. Out of 20 candidates. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little shy about this because I was so wrong about Donald Trump. I thought he was going to lose for sure. That I would say that Biden seems like a very strong candidate to me, actually, because he sort of has this, it's fake, but he has this sort of working class way of speaking, and he might be able to have an appeal in states that Donald Trump won in the middle of America. But I just don't think that's the way the Democratic Party is going. So I think it would be sort of a really bitter primary if they tried to sort of push Biden down everyone's throats. I don't know. But, I don't know anything about Beto. I don't understand how a person who lost the state and really has never done anything to distinguish himself should be president. But then again, we've had presidents like that before, not long ago. So maybe he will be president.
He just had the most exciting teeth cleaning ever filmed. I don't know if you saw that. I mean,
guys, we really have to go down that road. It's just
we are.
Everything is so unserious, and especially politics. And now we're going to have politicians acting like teenagers. It's just really annoying. But I guess that's the future.
There's this anonymous op-ed that was posted by a senior administration official, senior Trump official, according to the Daily Caller. I mean, if it's good enough for the New York Times to do, I guess the Daily Caller can do it as well. And he writes, or she writes, don't know, as one of the senior officials working without a paycheck, a few words of advice for the president's next move at shuttered government agencies. Lock the doors, sell the furniture, and cut them down. Federal employees are starting to feel the strain of the shutdown. I'm one of them, but for the sake of our nation, I hope it lasts a very long time till the government is changed. It can never return to its previous form. And I got to say, this op-ed is actually quite good about the fourth branch of government, the unelected bureaucracy, the nomenclatura, if you will. And it seems to me that this is something that Republicans should read and internalize beyond this partial temporary shutdown.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't have high hopes for that happening. I think, people, even Republicans, don't like government in theory, but they like it in their own lives. And when you start, and the bureaucrats themselves will start, make you feel the pain, the TSA, whatever agency it is, that, people are going to start to turn on that idea. I agree. I mean, I wish this would be a perfect time to start cutting back the bureaucracy, and pulling back some of these technocrats who run our lives. But I'm very skeptical that that's going to happen.
Well, and it's also, to you, since you invoked TSA, it's also a perfect time to revisit the mistake it was, arguably, I would argue, to federalize TSA. So if you had this at the local level, as it used to be, you wouldn't have these stories about, overcrowding, system failure, as it were, in terminals in Atlanta and elsewhere.
I am so anti-TSA, I can't even tell you. It is security theater, 99% of it. There has to be a better way. Every time I look at the lines and I know where I'm being patted down, I say to myself, the terrorists have won. They won this because we're still dealing with threats of the past in ridiculous ways. It would be great to reform TSA or privatize it, which I doubt there would be. I don't know how many Americans would go for that. But the bottom line is we don't have the political will to do those sorts of things because you definitely need both parties to get it done. So now is not the time, but I'm on board. I am super anti-TSA. I think it's a waste of our time, wastes my time. If there was a line that let me get on a special plane without any TSA stuff, I'd do it.
Really? See,
Oh yeah. No,
they took my shampoo bottle, but yet a guy got a gun on, and it went all the way to Thailand from
Japan.
Got a gun on. They did a test. I think it was 2015, where I think 95% of TSA did this test. People with guns and all kinds of bombs got onto planes. They do not do a good job.
It's like a scene from Airplane. It literally is like a scene from Airplane. David Harsanyi, he is the senior editor for thefederalist.com. His book, First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today. David, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.